Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to do our commodity technical analysis update. I'll give you my financial opinion. We'll work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and then all the commodities that I follow. And we're going to dive right into the dollar. So let's get right to it. This is the DXY. To me, it does look like we're trying to make a turn. Right here is kind of that breaking point. Falling wedge, breaking out of the falling wedge with some nice good, we'll call it outperformance of DXY. And we're just consolidating in this spot here. Now, we did enter this from the top side down, so we'll see which way this thing actually goes. But generally speaking, this looks like a topping pattern here. We call it the Batman. And then it'll work its way lower over time. But that's where we're at with the dollar. 10-year yield massively higher, almost 3% higher, 2.91. And yields taken off to the upside, finishing strong too. So this looks good to continue on higher. So yields higher on the 10-year. Bond prices on the 20-year. I know I'm kind of moving around. They're down. So bond prices go down when yields go up. They move inversely. And this definitely looks like it's collapsing to some degree. And then the 30-year yield up 3% also looks strong, like it could continue higher. Is this going to put in a double top up here? It's a possibility, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. We've got the TYX TNX ratio. That's basically sideways. The 30 and 10-year is moving up at the same pace. It's a flat. It's flat. It's not really inverting or uninverting at this time. And what we're seeing is we're seeing commodities still move up a little bit, up 0.13%, highly correlated to oil. I do think this is going to go higher. I consider that to be kind of like a bloody nose almost, a little bit of a pause or a profit-taking day or sideways day. We've broken out of this pattern to the upside. A big long-term view, though. This thing looks great. We've had a massive move higher. We've got the consolidation here, and then we'll, I think, break to the upside. I think it will be driven by and led by oil, as weird as that is. And we're still, I think this is wave one. We'll come back, and then we're going to go into another wave three when it wants to start. And I think we're at the beginning of that starting point. CRB to S&P 500. A little bit higher today, 0.84. We are heading on up. Are we going to hit towards the top of this channel? That's yet to be seen. But we'll see what this thing, what it does. It's looking good for commodity outperformance. Gold, we ran pretty strong today throughout the day, but we got this wick at the top. There's definitely some selling pressure up there. So we're up 0.89, 0.87, whatever percent. But the momentum is coming back down from trading today. So momentum is coming back down to the downside a little bit. Silver up 1.34%, a little bit over $24 is what we're closing. We do have a little wick at the top. Usually when you get these wicks at the top, you're hitting some sort of restraint in the system there. Maybe we'll break that. But I still think this is in its power zone, so to speak, where we could really start to head on higher. We are coming through this resistance. We also have resistance, right through here. We have resistance up here too. It's where buyers and sellers trade shares. So I do think we're going to go higher, but we're going to come into some resistance at some point, and we could see some sideways to slightly lower action if we don't just punch through it immediately. Platinum also kind of moving all over the place today. Ended up basically sideways today, up $2. But platinum is one of the cheaper metals. We've got a nice pattern here. The 1, 2, 3 correction ended here. Popped on higher, doing this nice little kind of like correction there before I think we head on higher. So that's platinum there on the long-term perspective. I very much like platinum. XAU to gold ratio, gold miners versus gold. Looks like gold miners are outperforming. People are positioning in it. I still think this, I mean, this has some ways to go, guys. We still have to get through this line here. I call it the need to break this line for happiness for the gold and silver mining companies. But we're working our way towards that line and going to try to break it at some point. We have higher lows. Everything looks good. Now it's all about a patience game. GDX up 2.53%. We're up against that resistance line I've got here. And we're trying to break through that resistance. We're right on top of it. We're seeing wicks. We're getting hit. We're coming back down. But when we come back down, we're not coming as low. So that is a positive. SILJ doing the same thing. We're playing with this resistance line coming through here. The more buyers and sellers you have in areas, the stronger the resistance line is. We've been kind of trying to get through it. The lows are still coming on up. I think we'll break through it at some point. The path it takes is unknown, but I think it's looking better and better. Crude oil, basically flat today. We are getting a little bit of selling pressure. Is that a bloody nose? Nah, kind of, not really. I mean, we'll see. It's tough to say here. And we'll see what tomorrow has in store for us. I know this is a low trading volume week. What I have here is I drew this out. This is it's a wedge that's kind of forming. Maybe if we break out of this guy, we'll see a nice little move higher. But that's yet to be determined and seen. Natural gas, right at support. I like it down here. I think we'll bounce around a little bit. We came down and we had all this momentum coming down, and usually it takes a little bit of time to work its way out going sideways. So I think we might have a little bit more sideways action. And, we've got spring coming up at some point, and that's usually kind of a soft season too. And then we've also got the delay of the Freeport LNG terminal coming back online. So we got some stuff kind of going on in natural gas. And I think if Freeport comes back on, we'll see this head on higher whenever that actually comes online. I think they're kind of purposefully holding off opening that thing up. XOP, yeah, you know me, slightly higher. I still think we've got some sideways action before heading on up. But again, highly depends on what oil does. If oil's strong, I would see XOP to be strong. OIH up a little bit. It's not too convincing here. I do think that we could potentially kind of work our way here and maybe fall back down to this level down there. We've got stronger selling pressure here on the left-hand side than the buying pressure coming on up. And it looks like that buying pressure's waning a little bit. So I do think we could head lower in the short term for maybe, hopefully, better buying opportunities if you like energy service companies. Sprout Physical Uranium Trust. Actually, I think that was closed today. So no update there. URNM. I mean, what I'm seeing here in URNM, it does look positive. We've got kind of this downtrend deal going on here. And we've broken that to the upside. And kind of maybe a little bit of a falling wedge, something like that. You could even bring it all the way out over here if you want. A little bit of a falling wedge. We've broken that to the upside. Let's hope that momentum can continue. It doesn't mean that we can't have a little back test here where we go down before heading higher. That wouldn't scare me. It would be another buying opportunity. But the uranium sector looks good in my opinion. And some of the companies like CCJ, they're looking better. They're starting to break some downtrends. And I think we could firm up here. TAN heading lower. This does not look as good as what it used to. We're getting some more selling pressure in here. The overall markets are definitely dragging this thing lower. Increasing oil costs and increasing interest rates, not too good for companies that don't make any money, especially ones that are subsidized by fossil fuels. So I don't think that this is I don't have conviction in TAN. If anything, I'd just bypass it. I do have a teeny bit of money in it. But again, this side looks like this side. And usually that's when you get a nice break to move to the upside. So copper still looking good, 1.25%. Looks like we've got kind of a little flag pattern going on there. And eventually it'll work its way higher. So I do like that. Lithium, this is the ETF. If we take a big picture view, this does not look bullish. It looks bearish where we could head lower. But we need to see buying pressure for me to change my mind on that. So I'm still in the bearish camp where this could potentially still head lower. REMX flat today. Bigger kind of longer term viewpoint. We do have a lot of selling pressure here. Still, we need to turn that around. The buyers need to come in. So it still looks a little bit bearish from a longer term perspective. SPX selling off a little bit, 0.4%. It's not really a huge sell off. It looks like it's trying to find something here. I don't know what. But if it's a continuation pattern, you'd see this break to the downside. If we continue to see rates going up like we are, I would expect the S&P 500 and NASDAQ to go lower. NASDAQ headed lower today. This does not look good. I saw Tesla. That thing was selling off hard. Actually, let's take a look at RQQ, or RKK, I guess, is probably heading lower too. I won't mess where we're up, but we'll see what happens here, guys. I'm not positive. You know, I'm not a fan of these areas. I think we could potentially head lower. We're still getting lots of selling pressure. The buying pressure hasn't stepped in yet, and we could potentially still head lower, even into this area back here, 8,000. That's still a pretty good drop lower. EEM, emerging markets, looking strong. We've got the downtrend line break hanging out here. I actually like EEM, emerging markets, compared to the other markets. XHB, which is the home builders, we're just moving sideways. I know a lot of people are pretty, I'll say, bearish on the sector. To me, this looks like an inverted shoulder head, and then maybe another shoulder that's coming up. Kind of a double-headed move, or a double bottom even too. So head and shoulders or a double bottom, either one. It's basically the same pattern. Doesn't really matter. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm still a bull in housing. I know that sounds ridiculous. I'll be a bull until the inventory goes up. If the inventory goes up to 10 months, then I'm definitely switching. But right now we have low inventory. I think it's just paused. And we'll see prices kind of come off of its high if people need to sell some. But it just looks like the housing market is stuck. Like it's held up in time, like it's just frozen. Moo, sideways. Again, big picture view though. We do have some selling pressure this past month. It needs to get worked off. I don't see the buyers in there yet turning this thing around. Copper's right up against resistance. There's that resistance line. It's kind of that last form of resistance before we fly higher. And we're right up there. We got some selling pressure today. We're still above that support level. We're just hitting some resistance. Once we break out of all this, we could see a run. We could. Doesn't mean we will. We have to see that actually materialize. We do have negative sentiment all around us. We do have negative overall stock market. This very well easily could get dragged down with the overall markets if we see a larger sell-off. And with the increasing interest rates, you know, all kind of tied together. But copper is stuck between the overall markets and the physical inventories that they have. That's where it's stuck. Lumber heading higher. We're in this gigantic falling wedge still, but if we break out of it, that's going to be positive for lumber and the housing market in general. Looking at iron ore, we are just still moving sideways. We're up our 0.05% more sideways action, and we're over here. So tough to see on that chart there. Nickel up 3.18%. This is one that I've been talking about where I think we could potentially head higher. That still looks good to go higher for nickel. I've got my investments in my diversified mining companies covering that. We've got aluminum. Aluminum just moving sideways above its support line. Still looks good. The Baltic Dry Index sold off. This is delayed a day, so it sold off last, whatever. But this is just going to be a return move for the breakout. So that still looks absolutely excellent. That does follow and mimic oil prices as well, the Baltic Dry Index. Coal's just relaxing right underneath that resistance line. We're right underneath it. We're just moving sideways. Everything is expensive, and it's going to be good for coal companies in terms of making money. We're getting a little bit of selling pressure in Ethereum. There's a little bit more selling pressure kind of following the overall markets. We'll see if we break out of this consolidation zone or if we break higher. Bitcoin also getting a little bit of a sell-off today. I'm not as bearish as other people. I think we're getting closer to a bottom than we are to like some massive sell-off, but I could be humbled. I understand. And I'm not playing in any of these markets anyway. In terms of the overall stock market and Ethereum and crypto, I don't have anything in it. So that's what we've got for today. I think oil and precious metals still look strong. We have to see where it's going to go, kind of breaking out of some of these patterns. We haven't done that yet. Copper's still kind of right at that resistance line. And what I'm going to do is a whole bunch of nothing. I'm still buying my favorite companies that are putting in patterns in a lot of these sectors. Lots of opportunity out there still. But I'm not really doing much in terms of where I think this is going to go. I'm going to wait and see. I'm still a bull. I'm still thinking it's going to go higher. But we've got positive movements on commodities in general. The commodity index is breaking to the upside. So I do think we're going to break to the upside. I know a lot of people are bearish, though. That's the minority opinion. And I don't really care what the majority or minority is. I'm just going to call whatever the charts tell me. And what the charts are telling me is that we still have commodity bull run left in us. So that's what I've got for today. Sign up to the channel or subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the Platinum membership on the finding-value.com if you'd like to join. Love to have you in the community. Ask me whatever questions you want. We do have a Platinum question and answer session at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on Sunday. And I do have a technical analysis training course 5 p.m. Thursday, Mountain Standard Time. You can show up. You can ask questions. That's what the whole thing is for. I've already done earlier trainings, technical analysis trainings, where you can sit through it and watch the video. If you have questions, bring those questions to whatever, and you can ask whatever questions. It could be, what do you do on different time frames when you're bullish long-term, bullish mid-term, but you get bearish in the short term? What do I do? And I'll answer all those types of questions if you guys have them. All right, guys, we'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.